Right then everyone, I just want to try and give a post ABR 2026 account of what I made of it. I'm going to try and do it all in one take. Hopefully you don't drop off because you're too bored. I literally just got back maybe about 20 minutes ago, 3.5 hour ride from Ragley Hall back to my house in Norwich. And I just thought it would be quite good to give you a video, you know, pretty fresh after me coming back from the ABR and my first thoughts on my first ABR. So I kind of written a very quick list of things which, you might want to know about before going, like what's the venue like, what's the food like, what are the prices, toilets, speakers, the rides. So yeah, I mean, altogether, I'm absolutely buzzing. And like I say, I've just come back. When you turn up at the ABR, it's all pretty well organised. The whole sort of check-in process. You have to fill out some disclaimers. You get given all your stickers. If you're trail riding, then you get a sticker that goes on your helmet. Everybody gets a sticker that goes on their bikes. Because obviously you can leave the venue and then come back easy enough. You get a wristband, and then once you've done the check-in, I bought a tent on my little Scrambler 400s. So you go and pitch up, find a spot on various massive fields. There's some quiet camping, which is a bit further out. And then there's just fields and fields where you can go and camp. Now, the temperatures were soaring, like mid 30 degrees. So I got there about midday on the Thursday. So I got the Super Thursday ticket. I think I paid an extra, I want to say £79 to come the day before. Turning up at 12 o'clock after the gates opening at 7:30, naively, I thought that there would be a little bit more space than there was when I turned up. It was absolutely rammed already, and because the sun was scorching down, everybody was pitching up their tents underneath trees, scrambling around for whatever shade they can get to pitch up their tents. So that was obviously the thing to try and do. So I'm there just looking about. All right, where's a little bit of shade? Okay, I think I found some. And yeah, you start pitching up your tent, and then immediately, like the minute that you just sort of turn up, us bikers, we seem to have, no matter what sort of walk of life you come from, we all do seem to have this, interconnection where you can just start chatting, right? And that is exactly what it's like. So anyway, pop the tent up, all of that bit was done, put the flip-flops on. I weren't really keen on doing any riding on the first day because, I was pretty tired from the rides up. So, and I wanted to just explore and see what it's all about. When you turn up, they give you this sort of pocket size, but I've just opened it just now. Like one side has like this enormous map, which is pretty handy, and then the other side has like all of the different stages and who's on at what times, a little bit about the music that comes on, sort of starting like middle of the afternoon, and a little bit of information about Ragley Hall itself, the speakers in Ragley Hall, the food and the vendors, what times they're open. You had what they call Midas pit stops, so free tea and coffee at various locations around the ABR, which was quite good. Although occasionally they did sort of run out of milk, or they ran out of this and that. And one thing worth mentioning is that the phone signal is non-existent, like non-existent there. So be prepared for that. If you want to get yourself I'm thinking about getting myself, you know, some kind of better internet Wi-Fi, you know, when I go next time. And interestingly, they were trialing out just outside the front of Ragley Hall a Wi-Fi spot. So they must have put some kind of mast up, and it was a test Wi-Fi spot. So I am assuming that next year they will have maybe a few dotted about. Now the signal wasn't incredibly strong, but it was something. So, you know, in a world now where we completely rely on like WhatsApp or, you know, you don't like to check emails and things like that. But I mean, WhatsApp, I think that was the biggest thing for me. Facebook Messenger. If you lose someone there, it's, you know, unless you've got their number where you can call them, but even that signal was really, really weak. It's really difficult to get hold of anybody. And you're talking like a sea of 20,000 people that were there. So yeah, I think that they're going to look to try and improve the signal. I started walking around and you're immediately just sort of dwarfed by the size of the whole complex. The fields were massive. You walk into like where all of the exhibitors are, all of the trade stands. You know, you've got like Dunlop there that are doing tyre changes. You've got suspension guys there that you know, are there to sort of sell their products but also give you help with your suspension. And then you then start coming across like the manufacturers. I think that the first ones were like the likes of like Ryu, Moto Guzzi, and Honda, and Yamaha. And then you start venturing into like the food village and the speaker halls. And the food village, you know, there's the, you know, like all of the street food pop-ups, just about every single one you can think of, right? You know, I mean, you've got like your burgers, your fish and chips, but then you've got like your Mexican, your Greek, your Thai, your Chinese. Also, I just spotted here just randomly, so on the Ragley Hall estate, you've got the huge lake where they also offer like paddle boarding. You can go and do that as well, if you wanted to. Yeah, so talking about the food, just tell you about the prices then. I did think, I mean, it is festival prices, you know, that you've got to just accept that things are going to be a little bit more expensive. I think that the cheapest sort of dinner that I found was, you know, this like hot dog for like £9, something like that. Like burger, like plain burger, £9. And you start moving on like pizza, you know, just a plain pizza, £10. One night I got like the full works pizza, that was £16. Another night I got the Thai food. The Thai food was amazing. It was like this little Thai lady. She was brilliant. Just kept on calling me darling, and she loaded me up with some noodles. You know, like the extra large sort of tub. £16 though. This cost me. It was a honey roast duck with noodles. Loaded me up with the noodles. Started putting the veg in. Put like big blocks of carrots in, which was quite nice. Good to have some vegetables like while you're away. You can't just live on chips. Got to look after your body in some sort of way. And yeah, and then she pulled out this big bit of duck from this cauldron, whacked it down on the chopping board, chopping it up, putting it on, you know, so already it's like overflowing. And she starts putting all of the gravy on and everything like that. And honestly, I couldn't finish it. So yeah, I mean, that was £16, but it was delicious and it filled me up good. Turning up on the Super Thursday, you get a beer for free, which I thought was quite a nice touch. You just get a little card which you just hand in at the Spada bar, and yeah, and then you just get a choice of whatever you want basically from the taps. So I treated myself to a nice pale ale because that's normally what I tend to sort of go for. Yeah, the Spada bar is in front of the Bikerheads Arena. The Bikerheads Arena is huge. You know, if I had to guess, you're probably looking at, I don't know, like hundreds of picnic tables, you know, there. So yeah, and then you then had the arena at the front. you know, where you then had some really, really decent bands playing. Every band that went up there, you know, I had time to sit down and listen to them, and you know, and appreciate, you know, good live music. I must say, the headline act last night, which was Elvis. I wanna like get his name right. What's it here? Elvis. Oh no, they haven't got his name. But yeah, but this dude, he is like he's like current world Elvis champion. He he won a competition in Memphis where a whole load of Elvises turned up, and yeah, and he won. So yeah, he was there. He was really, really good. Like honestly, if you're a fan of Elvis, like all of his like facial expressions and the way how he talked and the dancing, the singing, it was all really good, proper Elvis. But then also he was quite funny. He sort of broke out of Elvis every now and again, and you know, he's talking about his lost Amazon delivery parcel and things like that. So he was a bit of a joker. What else we got? Right, speakers. Whole bunch of speakers. Like, you know, if you're a YouTube fan, then you know it's a whole like tons of YouTubers there, you know, so no doubt, you know, there'll be one that you'll be following, 2, 3 that you'll be following that you'll go and see, and you won't just go and see, you'll be able to meet. So yeah, so I met Chris Northover from Bike World. That was on the first day, and then also it's and the same with Chris Birch, Andy from the Mr. Flyer. You know, you go and say hello, like to all these guys, and you know, yeah, you're a bit nervous, you know, because you know they're like globally recognised, but instantly, like, you know, and I think that this, you know, I'd like to think a little bit of it, you know, is a biker thing, you know, in that it doesn't matter sort of, you know, where you come from, what bike or anything like that, you know, we all seem to be on like a same wavelength, so no sort of egotistical things there, and I think that's what, you know, somewhere like the ABR where everybody is on a level par, you can even meet like global, I'll go as far as saying, you know, superstars, and yeah, and shake hands with them and just have a few minutes talking. Yeah, it's great. I mean, Chris Birch, he immediately after his talk, you know, which was packed, there was like, you know, a few hundred people there, you know, and he was talking about all of his adventures. It was like an interview style talk. That was really, really good. But immediately after that, he had to jog over to the Mitre stand and give a demonstration on how to change a tyre. And so I went on over there afterwards and I watched that, and there was probably like 20 people watching, and he was just such a such a humble guy. Just, you know that he's changed like 100 tyres before, and he was just going through it, just teaching us all in 33-degree heat, you know, sweating his off, and but yeah, really, really humble, top bloke. He said something quite funny. Someone asked him a question, where was the most challenging place you ever changed a tyre? And what I thought was quite funny, he said, well, I changed a tyre in a swamp once, and that was the first time that I ever experienced feeling like I'm food, because all sorts of insects and fish were biting me while I was trying to change the tyre. He had to like tie a bit of rope onto a tree to hold the bike into a certain position, like while the bike's in the swamp. Yeah, brilliant. That was a brilliant story. Right, I'll tell you about the rides. So all in all, I went on 4 rides, and I intend on making a video on like a comparison video. The bikes that I chose were the CF Moto 450 MT, the Ryu 307 Adventura, the Himalayan 450, and then finally the Triumph Scrambler X. I took them all out on the manufacturer trail rides. So the idea, you know, like with these rides, you know, the manufacturers, they have, you know, a plethora of, you know, their bikes available for you to go and try out. You can choose to either go on road or you can go off-road. So off-road, you're on circuits which are around Ragley Hall, namely the Bridgestone circuit. And my initial first impressions of these rides were that if you had never ridden off-road before, on even gentle green lanes, I think that they were a little bit challenging, you know. Like the pace, it's you know, it's quite speedy. Even though that, you know, you've got a guide at the front, a tail end at the back, and you know, they do get a gauge of, you know, experience before the ride. And they do look after you big time, these guides as well. I mean, one time I got lost and veered off, was following the bloke in front of me, and then he went that way and we went that way, and then, yeah, and then one of the guides managed to shoot around and find us, and then, you know, it's a bit like a sheepdog just bringing the sheep back to the pack. So that was, yeah, so just going back to the speed, so just be aware that it's a bit of a learning curve. I definitely feel that, you know, I've graded a little bit, you know, from going out on those 4 manufacturer rides. There's a little bit of like it got very sort of dusty, bit sandy in places, but it was so fun, like ridiculously fun to try out all of these bikes back to back. So there are some hills where you had to like climb up the hills, go over, down the hill, and then back up, and then round, and yeah, and then all the while, you know, there's some little hops, like going up the hill. Went out with the Rayu 307 lot, and yeah, the guide taking us out there, I mean, he was going up the hill, doing a wheelie at the same time, jumping up these like bunny hops. It was incredible. I couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, trail rides were awesome. So yeah, I hope to put together a video which I hope will be useful for people who are, you know, potentially looking into one of those bikes. Toilets, I guess, just a real quick one on that. So Alan Davis, who I randomly bumped into Alan Davis. Alan Davis, he's the head honcho guy of ABR. He's the founder. But top bloke. I got him to sign my hat. You can see that. Sort of, yeah, there's Alan's there. Chris Birch. Chris Northover. Mr. Dunflyer. But yeah, Alan Davis. Oh, I forgot what I was talking about now. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, toilets. Yeah, so he was sort of, you know, saying how like prestige the toilets are. They were good for like festival toilets, you know. But I mean, you imagine there's 20,000 people that use these toilets, so yeah, they're going to get used, right? Occasionally, like they'll break down or be out of order, and you know, or yeah, one thing or another. But yeah, so they are like on the premium end. But just bear in mind that it is a festival, and you know, hundreds, thousands of people are going to use them toilets and showers and things like that. Speakers, I'll just read out just a few speakers. You know, so I mean, we got like, I think the headlines were like Richard Hammond, Carl Fogarty, Chris Birch, Dean Harrison. There was this one talk Dean Harrison did. It was brilliant at the Ducati stage. He had on the big screen a lap from John McGuinness, and Dean Harrison was basically commentating, talking us through turn by turn, like what goes through his head while he's going around the Isle of Man TT. And I found it exhausting, brilliant, like, wow, because the speeds that they whip. I mean, yeah, you know, you've seen the TT on the on. You probably, like, you might have been to the TT as well. Yeah, I haven't been yet. That's on my list. But yeah, whipping through these chicanes through village houses, and then Dean Harrison saying this bit's a bit scary, and then I look at it and I'm like, wow, that is like off the charts, like terrifying. But it's such, yeah, that was a really, really, really good experience, just to be stood there watching the massive screen while Dean Harrison is like talking about what goes through his head, because he's pretty fast around that as well, right? A few other speakers on her bike: Lyndon Poskett, Sweet Lamb, Charlie Borman, Ryan F9, Tim Rodey Rides, Mad TV. There's, yeah, Nathan Millward. Yeah, it was just really, 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 really cool. And the types of bikes that turned up, just about every bike that you see out on the roads, people turned up on those bikes. So I've got a good friend who was a little bit apprehensive about coming along because he owns a street triple. I must have seen, like, you know, at least a dozen street triples there, speed triples. You know, a whole ton of Bonnevilles, and so they're not all like your typical sort of adventure bikes that turned up. People turned up on all sorts of different bikes, and it was just really nice just to be in a community where everybody is on the same wavelength. I know I keep saying that, but yeah, I just sort of felt like that there was no need to, you know, be shy or be nervous. Just go and say hello to anyone at any point. And everyone was all sort of really friendly. So I'll be going again next year. I think tomorrow they're going to start sending out emails to people who went this time round with some kind of price incentive, which will be good. I'll jump on that. So hopefully all of that was of some kind of use. Hopefully I haven't waffled on too long. 25 minutes I can see this video is at the minute. Any questions or comments, yeah, pop them down below. Yeah, for anyone that I did meet, yeah, if you put a comment down below, send us a direct message. It would be great to, you know, be in touch with you and keep in touch as well. Right. Oh, thank you very much. Take care. Ride safe. Cheers.